Hello everyone, welcome to The Smart Student. My name is Chelsea Seaburn. So, you've been assigned to write a research paper, but you're stuck on coming up with your research question, huh? Well, you're in luck because today's video is going to be an academic tutorial on how to develop a strong research question. First things first, what exactly is a research question and what makes a research question strong? By definition, a research question is a part of academic writing which is meant to confuse and frustrate college students. Strength of said research question is determined by the degree to which the college student is frustrated. The more frustrated, the stronger the research question. That can't be right. As frustrating as it can be to come up with a good research question, in all seriousness, it's just a question to center your research around. And a good one is made up of three different qualities: that it's concise, complex, and arguable. Concise means that your question should be stated using precise language. In other words, no fluff or BS. Complex means that there should be depth to your question. In other words, your question shouldn't be something that would be easily answered through a quick Google search. And lastly, a good research question should be arguable. In other words, why does it matter? Your question should be something that you either have to argue, defend, or explore. It should set you up nicely so that you have to take a position or take a stand. In other words, it should set you up to create your thesis statement. By the way, if you need help coming up with your thesis statement, be sure to check the description for that video. I have a link to it down below as well. But anyways, now that you know what a good, strong research question is, let's talk about the 6 steps to actually developing it. Step 1. Find a general topic that interests you. So at this point, you haven't done any research, so my tip for you here is to start broad. Ideally, you want to choose something that interests you because this is going to keep you engaged as you do your research. By the way, there's generally always ways to tie personal interest to research topics. For example, let's say you're taking a psychology class and the topic you're supposed to write about is depression. Let's say you have a personal interest in animals, you're hoping to be a veterinarian one day. Your general topic could be to explore the effects that animals have on people who live with depression. Step 2. Do some preliminary research. So with your general topic in mind, you'll want to start doing some initial research. I suggest skimming through 3 to 5 articles, books, resources, whatever you choose to do so, but through those resources, I suggest highlighting a handful of lines that pique your interest. Something important to remember is that this is your preliminary research, meaning it's just the initial research. So you want to keep this fairly brief. The purpose is to ensure that your topic is researchable. There's nothing worse than choosing an interesting topic only to find out later that there really isn't much information on it, and also to make sure that it does pique your interest and that you can develop a research paper from this topic. Step 3. Narrow down to a specific niche. So as you're working your way through your preliminary research, you want to start to narrow down from your broad topic to something more specific. So in that example, as using animals and their effects on people with depression, you might start to narrow down from animals to emotional support animals. Maybe even from emotional support animals down to dogs. You could even go further with saying dogs as emotional support animals to corgis as emotional support animals.
Step 4. Start asking questions within your niche. So now that you've focused in on that specific niche, you now want to start asking questions about your niche. This is where you poke holes in the current research, and the goal is to find either a gap or an issue about your topic. This is known as the research problem.
Step 5. Write your research question. So after you've identified either your research problem or gap, now is the time to go ahead and write your research question. My pro tip here is for you to write 2 or 3 working research questions. And the reason I suggest this is because in your preliminary research, there's a good chance that you came up with more than one question. So when you write down a few, this gives you options to view the research from a few different angles, which will help you narrow down and focus to a really good, strong research question. So let's say these are the 3 working research questions that I've come up with. Let's go ahead and walk through them together. So question number 1. Why should adults struggling with depression consider a corgi as an emotional support dog? This is a good start, but I think it's too broad. It would take quite a bit of research and explaining to explain why. Next, How do corgis compare to other canine breeds when it comes to being an emotional support animal for people struggling with depression? Again, this is a good question, but I don't necessarily want to compare corgis to other dogs because that's going to take away from the main topic of depression. Question number 3. What effect do corgis have as an emotional support dog on adults who live alone and struggle with depression? Again, this is a good question, but as a rule of thumb, you never want to include 2 different topics in your question. So in this one, I'm not just talking about adults who live with depression, I added in there adults who live alone and struggle with depression. So I want to narrow that down to 1 topic only. So after reviewing these 3 different working questions that I've come up with, I might land on something like, what effect do corgis have as an emotional support dog on adults who struggle with depression? That's not bad, that's actually pretty good. Let's go ahead and use that as our research question. Step 6, revise and refine your research question. The final step to developing a strong research question is to allow yourself to revise and refine as you do your research. You see, the initial research question you come up with is a starting point that is meant to help guide you through your research. As you come up with your thesis statement and you do more research while you're working on your paper, chances are that your research question may shift a little. That's okay and completely normal. Awesome. Now I want to go over my rules of thumb for when you're creating your own research questions. Rule number 1, ask open-ended questions. In other words, avoid asking yes or no questions at all costs. Rule number 2, ask a question that can be fully answered within your page limit. And this goes both ways. If you're asking a question that can be answered through a quick Google search, it's probably too narrow. On the other hand, if it requires you to write a novel to adequately answer the question, your topic might be too broad. Lastly, for rule number 3, ask a question that requires you to either explain or defend your answer. In other words, you want to ask a question that goes past simplicity and has some depth and complexity to it. Anyways, congratulations if you've made it this far. You're ready to go out and craft your own research question. Matter of fact, if you come up with a good research question, do me a favor, comment it down below on this video so we can get a running tab for other students to refer to of research question examples. Before you run off, I do want to say that we still have a week and a half in my Smart Student giveaway if you haven't signed up for that yet. What it is a big thank you of your guys' support of the Smart Student channel in 2020. I'm giving away a brand new Acer desktop monitor to 1 lucky subscriber so they can level up their home office space. If you'd like to know how to enter, go watch this video, like the video, comment why you'd like to win along with your social media handle. Like I said, I'm going to be selecting that winner in a week and a half, so you want to go do that now. While you're down there, be sure to join the Smart Student Facebook group if you haven't already as well. But as always, if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to this channel for more videos like this every week. Thank you.